I think you're on mute.
Sorry, oh my god, it's all going wrong tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. Here we are. I thought we were going to get it 10 in 10. It just wasn't our night tonight. I think we were quite sloppy all over. We were desperate to have Casemiro go unscathed throughout the game without a booking. It was about to be subbed and then got a booking. So he's going to miss the trip this weekend to the Emirates, which is really, really worrying. Marcus joining me. A couple others coming in a minute. Marcus, I hope you're well, buddy. Talk to me about how you're feeling after that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely gutted, considering the fact that we did control the game, especially in the first half. It was a very mixed performance because I felt like our midfield played relatively well. I thought Casemiro, apart from the yellow card and the miss at the end, was brilliant. He was absolutely fantastic tonight. I thought Ericsson was magnificent. I think that's the best I've seen Ericsson play in a while now, and him getting to 7 assists is a huge milestone because I think only Kevin De
It's not.
Bruyne is ahead of him.
Yeah, it is,
So
and not
yeah,
bad for someone we got on a free.
yeah, absolutely. He's the chief creator. He is the catalyst for a lot of our attacks and the facilitator, the chief facilitator, I like to call him. And then you've got Bruno, who obviously scored the goal and took it very well, but he was also very frustrating in the second half. I think where we really got it wrong today and where Ten Hag got it wrong, or well, I suppose you can't really blame Ten Hag because what can he do, was probably the attack, right? I thought Vegas was very, very quiet for me. I saw a couple of people on Twitter saying he had a good game. I personally didn't see it. I
See,
just
see,
didn't see
I
it.
don't, I don't think he played too badly. I agree. There wasn't any
I
sort of excitement to it. He didn't really have any
Yeah,
opportunities, but I thought in his play and his hold up, he was quite tidy with it and didn't really do anything wrong. Didn't misplace any passes.
yeah,
But obviously,
yeah.
from a striker, your number one job is to have a bit more creativity and probably have something on target, which he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the perfect way to sum it up. I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was good. I didn't think he was bad. I just thought he was okay. And that's the issue for me tonight is I feel like our attack was just okay. I can't single out one individual and say it's your fault we lost. I think Anthony, Rashford, and Weghorst were all just okay tonight, right? Rashford, that's probably his worst game in a while, and I say that almost as a compliment in a way because he didn't play badly, but that just shows how high the standards have been for him. So yeah, man, weird performance. I think our attack really let us down today. I don't think you can really fault the defense. I thought De Gea was brilliant with the couple of saves that he made. Martinez, all things considered, I think he was brilliant. Sure, I thought he was okay, both going forward and defensively. He was actually quite good. He was more than just okay. Yeah, he was quite good. So overall, it wasn't a terrible performance. I just think what really let us down is that lack of cutting edge in the final third, and that's down to the attack for me. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Shane has joined us. How you doing, buddy? I hope you're well, mate. It's all right, you can vape on here. It's not a problem. And yeah, we were just sort of discussing where it might have went wrong for United. We were all obviously quite frustrated in the fact that Casemiro got booked. Probably going to miss this weekend's game. Was just about to be taken off. Marcus sort of mentioned about he felt that it was um, a bit of an issue with the strikers tonight. The defensive midfield did everything they could. Ericsson had a good game. He said that Weghorst was a little bit quiet. I said that I felt that he was quite tidy on the ball, but obviously, first and foremost, as a striker, you want to sort of add a bit more creativity and perhaps go at the goal a little bit more. But how are you feeling after that, Shane? And where do you feel it went wrong for us tonight?
Sorry, I'm a few minutes late, lads. Just had to put the child down
No
for
worries,
some
bro.
time. But I don't have too much to say, to be honest. I didn't think it was a great performance. I thought the first half was okay. I thought we were in control without being too much, without causing too many problems for Palace. I thought, like you were saying, I thought we defended pretty well. I thought the midfield played well enough too. I don't think any of our forwards had a great game. I think Wake, is that how you pronounce it? Wakehorse. Sorry, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but
Well, I think that my best guess. I'm sure that none of us are literate in that kind of thing, but Wout Weghorst is how I think it's pronounced.
Wakehorse. I thought he was okay. I don't think he got a lot of service because, like I said, I don't really think we created much anyway. But I thought a couple of times the ball went to his feet. He was tidy with it, held it up, laid it off, done the basics well. The second half, I thought we were really poor. I don't think we really came out, and I don't really think we showed up in the second half at all. I think that kind of killed you when like Palace is always going to be a tough place to go. So to drop points so late with it from a goal like that, it's obviously disappointing. But for every big result you're going to get against the likes of City and the other big six teams, you're going to drop points like these, especially away from home. So I get it's frustrating, but these games are going to happen. It's almost more frustrating that we're losing Casemiro for Arsenal as well, especially since we drop points too. It's like a double jeopardy kind of thing, but it's okay. We'll manage.
Not ideal. Obviously, Casemiro is going to be a massive miss this weekend. I think we're all very much aware of that. However, I do think that we got the players in there, and maybe it's going to give them a bit of sort of a tactical reshuffle against us, perhaps. You know what I mean? Try and take the silver lining for that sort of thing. But yeah, not ideal. And the thing is, the one thing I want to take away from this really is, you know, roll back 18 months, you know, these kind of games we were almost expecting or saw ourselves drop a lot of these points. So the fact we've had 9 wins on the bounce, we're so disappointed and trying to sort of look for the negatives with a fine-tooth comb. That's how far we seem to have come now. I know it's only 6 months, 18 months, whatever, but you have to try and take those positives. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, good points, well made, Shane. Yeah. Sean, go on, bro. What you saying?
We've been a bad perform, not a bad performance, but we've been due a poor result, to be honest. Like, so it's obviously you're never going to be happy when they come, but you're not going to win out till the end of the season either. So, you know.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's another thing as well. Perhaps we need a little bit of a kick in the nuts before we go into a big game this weekend. And that might prove positive for us. Sean, great to have you with us again, my man. I hope you're very well. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, sure. It's disappointing. Good evening. Difficulties with the link, lads. So sorry I'm late as well. Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing.
I'll let you off this time.
I think Palace went out with a game plan to defend like crazy and hope for something special, and I think they got just that there with that free kick was just a bomb. You know,
unbelievable free kick, wasn't it?
Yeah, just spectacular. So, I mean, look, they defended like madmen. You know, you're talking 10, 11 lads inside in their own half for a lot of particularly the first half an hour. I suppose United maybe left them in for the last couple of minutes of the first half, and then I suppose towards the end, you know, United were really holding on. There was a couple of Palace chances. Obviously, Casemiro getting booked was a big part, I suppose. You know, worse than a red card. You know, I think my reaction towards the TV, there was a little bit of shouting and maybe some colourful language used, you know, but it was a real hammer blow, wasn't it, to get Casemiro booked. And I suppose with Casemiro booked, when they brought on Fred, I thought, you know, this could get seriously dicey, because if he picks up a booking, we're in serious trouble for the game at the weekend. You know what I mean? Because the same thing could have just as easily happened Fred there once or twice. I suppose the other side of Casemiro's booking as well is, you know, are we going to concede that goal if Zaha goes through? You know, there's very, very high potential for that. And at the time, it was looking like we were going to get the result. So, you know, I'd say, you know, took the yellow maybe for the greater good of the team at the time. But then, you know, it just turned out not to pay off in the end, which is a bit disappointing. But a couple of them put in a right good shift there tonight as well, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought
right.
I think
say that again, Shane. Sorry, mate.
I think United looked tired tonight, to be honest, because even the first half when they were playing relatively well, it was all tidy, but it was very pedestrian as well. We weren't moving the ball with the same pace we have been the last few weeks. Rashford's probably had his worst game in a long time. I think he looked tired. I think a lot of players are tired out there, to be honest. So it's frustrating, the result, but it is what it is, bro. You know?
Long time coming. I think, you know, we're not going to win absolutely every game, and you know, we should just be incredibly happy that we're in the position that we are in, and we can afford to drop points here and there. You know what I mean? So, not ideal. Lots to talk about Rashford tonight. Obviously, wasn't his best game. Someone in our group chat said that, you know, when you stop Rashford, you kind of stop the team. I agree with him to a certain extent. Andrew, thanks for joining us, but he says Rashford a bit selfish tonight. Seemed like he was trying to force himself into spots to take shots more than looking for a simple pass to assist his teammates. A bit too individual minded tonight. And this isn't us going in about Rashford at all, but I just wanted to kind of get all your thoughts on Rashford tonight and sort of his performance. Marcus, how do you think he did tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was. I think saying it was his worst performance is accurate. You know, I think that Marcus Rashford was incredibly selfish tonight. Now, generally speaking, this season he's been selfish and he's been able to get away with it because when you score or you get an assist, it's okay to be selfish, right? Because you're contributing where it matters most on the scoreboard. But tonight it just wasn't coming off. And there's a comment there from Andrew, which sums it up perfectly, basically saying that Rashford was forcing things, and it's almost as if he wanted to put himself in a position to try save the game, which I don't think was necessary tonight at all. I think if he'd had played a few more simple passes and just laid it off to teammates, we might have been able to actually get a second goal or maybe even a third. So I don't think Rashford's the only player who was guilty of that. I think Bruno did it a couple of times in the second half where he did things that where he should have just passed the ball. So it isn't exclusive to Rashford. Anthony as well wasn't particularly great tonight, but I think considering the form he was in, it was pretty disappointing to not see him be able to be our talisman tonight. And but yeah, man, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Bruno had a game of two halves really tonight, quite literally. Obviously, took his goal very well. Great assist by Eriksen. Played very, very well in the first half, but then became very sloppy. I know the whole team did. But Shane, Bruno tonight, would you agree with that? Do you think he just wasn't on form? Do you think he could have... He was a bit sloppy in the second half for me, I think, and gave a few ball passes away and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first half as well, I think he was forcing it a little bit as well. But I think that he kind of had to then to an extent, because I don't think any of our forwards were really playing well. I think Rashford, he was forcing things as well. But I'm less so harsh on him when he's trying to overdo it, carrying the ball, because I kind of feel like he's our only 1v consistently good 1v1 player. So, I get that. It's not really much to say to me. I don't think anyone played well for United in the second half. I think we lost a lot of control in the middle. But that was always going to happen with Palace coming out, and they had to play more on the front foot. So I don't really know why it turned out that way. But yeah, I agree with the guys. I agree Rashford and Bruno were forcing things a little bit too much.
Yeah, and going into this weekend now, obviously we have a massive issue on our hands, really. Obviously, since Casemiro started playing after the City game, been absolutely wonderful and really dictating play, being very defensive, sniffing out all the danger all the time. Obviously, that's not going to happen this weekend. Greg thinks now it's going to be a 3-0 win to Arsenal on Sunday. I think that's probably giving them a bit too much credit. I think we'll be okay, but we might not get the win now. It might be difficult. But lots of chat going on in the background and in a group chat that I'm in about perhaps playing Shaw at centre-back and maybe putting Martinez in as defensive midfielder. Do you think that probably could be an option, Sean?
I do. It's definitely an option, but I think, Fred's been playing well, and there's no way you'd have gotten that soundbite out of me 6 months ago. Not a hope would I have said that. I'd have put Fred in the same category as I suppose I hold Anthony Martial and Van de Beek. And they'd be, three, I'd put on the chopping block first. Just going back to what the two lads were saying there about, I suppose, Rashford and Fernandes. For me, I think Crystal Palace, like I said, had that game plan. Vieira spotted that these two guys are in serious form. They put the pressure on them, and I suppose maybe made them force things as well a small bit, maybe to their credit. And like that, I suppose we have that expectation now that Rashford's going to inevitably score. And it seemed like every time they got the ball near the box that, he potentially could have, he just didn't, and maybe call that forcing things if you like. But I think the Palace defenders probably just did a job on him, and That's my opinion of it. But yeah, Martinez can go into that defensive role in midfield, absolutely. But I'd say myself probably go with Fred, given his form lately. And again, I wouldn't have said that a couple of months back.
No, I do agree with you. I think if I was to sort of hedge a guess now, I think he'll probably choose McTominay over Fred. Purely, I know why you're shaking your head there, but purely on the fact that he's a lot more of a presence, and that Arsenal midfield really, aside from Partey, doesn't have that presence. And I think that McTominay might be able to sort of instill a little bit more from a physical point of view. Do you see what I mean? I know Fred obviously he's played very well in all of his games. And you would say probably on paper, yeah, you chuck Fred in there, but I'm not quite sure if he would be able to deal, particularly with the intricate and technical ability of the three in the Arsenal midfield. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see. Shane, you wanted to go in there?
No, just on your, but I think he'll probably go with the two of them. I think he'll probably go McTominay, Fred, and Eriksen in the midfield, and I think he might put Bruno out on the right again.
Yeah, and then he can drop back in and sort of overload the midfield when he needs to.
Yeah, because he's going to be sucked into the midfield a lot anyway, because Zinchenko plays in the middle a lot from left back. So I think he might do that as a way to deal with him. So, like, I know it's sickening to think we're going to go there without Casemiro, because he's just been so good this year for us since he came. But I mean, we've beaten Arsenal this year already without him, so we could do it again. That's saying I'm not confident. I even before tonight, I think Arsenal will probably turn us over there, because we have kind of been whipping boys for them the last few years at the Emirates. But it's not the end of the world that Casemiro won't be there. You know, I'm sure he knows good and early he's not going to be there. He's going to have a game plan going into that with knowing he's not going to be there. So
I don't
there's
think.
hope.
Just thinking about that Casemiro challenge, I appreciate there was one defender behind him, but I don't think that was Casemiro's fault. I think he actually did the right thing by lunging in and breaking up the play, because that could have caused us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he has to make that.
Yeah, I think that obviously, I don't know who it was prior to that. I think it might have been Bruno, a bit of a sloppy pass beforehand, but I think that he was right by doing what he did. It's just really unfortunate, and obviously shows how important he is to the team. David De Gea, obviously has his critics, Marcus. We've spoken about him many, many times, but he pulled off some absolute worldies tonight, two in particular that I can remember, but kept us in the game. But how do you think he performed tonight?
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant tonight in terms of the shot stopping. I think the one save he made in the first half was absolutely ridiculous.
I honestly don't know how he did that. I genuinely thought that was in.
And this is the thing. Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
Mark,
I mean,
sorry.
no problem. I mean, you're absolutely spot on. It was brilliant. And the weird thing about David De Gea is, like, he's just that type of goalkeeper. Every time you doubt him, every time you think, oh, you know, his distribution ain't great, he doesn't really command his area, so maybe we need to get rid of him. And then he makes a save like that, and you're like, well, maybe we need a good shot stopper as well. You know, maybe distribution isn't the most important thing. So I don't know. My opinion on David De Gea at the moment is, I do think long term we do need a new goalkeeper, but if he continues to make saves like that, he isn't the biggest problem at the club, right? Like he should be much lower on the list of people to leave. That's where I'm at with David De Gea. I can recognize what people are saying about the distribution and the elements of his goalkeeping. He definitely isn't the best at those. So, and he's not going to improve to the level that I think Erik ten Hag would want in a best case scenario. So he's not the answer long term. But for right now, I think David De Gea has done more than enough to buy himself some more time at Old Trafford. And for me, like he just shouldn't be going anywhere before we fix the rest of the team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we got some. Sorry, Shane, go on.
No, I just agree. I think this time last year, I would have had a new goalkeeper really high on our list of priorities. Whereas now, I think I agree with Mark. I think long term we do need to replace him, and he'll never be at the required level with playing out of the back and commanding his area. But to be fair to him, he has improved a lot of them things this season, and he's had a good season, to be fair to him. So I agree. There's definitely holes in the team that need to be getting sorted out before he before him.
And perhaps another defensive midfielder with the technical ability of Casemiro being one of them, perhaps. As soon as he's out of our team, we haven't seen it yet, obviously, but this weekend we're already sort of worried about what could happen on the back of that. We're going to come to ratings. I've got to make it short and sweet tonight, and I do apologise about that. Shane's made his comeback after how long, Shane? When was the last time you were on?
It's been a while now. I'd say close to a year, to be honest.
A year. Well, it's good to have you back, buddy. Make sure you give him a follow. It's always good. Say that again, bro.
No, just saying it's good to be back, bro. Good to be back talking ball.
Good to have you. And Jarvis in the comments here, Ten Hag said in his post-game interview, we learned a lesson and we need to produce more to get the second. And I think that's always a classic, isn't it? A 1-goal lead is just never enough. And we were punished with that tonight. And Stuart, great to have you in the comments, buddy. Hey, lads, good to see you all. It's good to see you too, buddy. I'll be giving you a call in the next couple of days, that's for sure. Right, so we're going to come to ratings now then. So obviously we spoke about him only a moment ago, so I'll give him to you, Shane. David De Gea, and what rating out of 10 would you give him, please, buddy?
I give him a 9 out of 10. I thought he was brilliant tonight. Don't think I can give a keeper a 10 out of 10 if they don't keep a clean sheet, but to be fair to him, he couldn't do anything about the goal anyway. It was a great hit. But I didn't think he really put a foot wrong, to be honest. I thought he was really good tonight. Probably his best game of the season so far.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent tonight, and a 9 might seem high for a draw, as you say, but he literally didn't put a foot wrong, and I don't think anybody in the world would have got to that free kick. Absolute pinpoint. Sean, moving over to you, buddy. I thought he also had a relatively good game. Certainly got a bit of a spring in his step. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, rating for him, please, buddy.
Yeah, I'd give Wan-Bissaka an 8 out of 10 myself. Left a couple of balls loose there in the second half, but put in what I would say is a right solid shift. He can look himself in the mirror tonight and say, he did a solid day's work today, for the team. Stuck his head on a couple of balls that a lot of lads wouldn't put their foot on. So to be fair, I think 8 is probably a fair shout. Put in a right deadly shift, I thought. He was outstanding, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought he was one of our better players.
That's his bread and butter, like that last-ditch tackle at the end, and Zaha to kind of save us the point that it would have been a disaster coming out there or not.
Yeah, that was some tackle as well, to be fair, Shane. Yeah, good point.
It's good to see him doing what he does best, and us obviously being able to recognise that. It was great. And actually, Wilfried Zaha after the game did say about the last-minute challenge, he said if it was any other player, as I was running through, I had a little look and thought, oh my God, it's Aaron. He's the only one that can scoop that tackle. So obviously he can recognise greatness. But anyway, moving on then. So obviously a defensive duo tonight. First start since the World Cup for Martinez, and I'll give that to you, Marcus.
Martinez, I thought he was all right tonight. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. I don't think he was really at fault. Not that I can remember. But to be fair, I thought everyone in the defense was pretty good. So I'll give him a 7.
Yeah, I think that's very, very fair. And then moving on to Varane, Shane.
I'd probably go the same. I'd go 7 out of 10. I thought the whole back 5 was good. Probably the back 6 if you include Casemiro. I thought defensively United were good. I know Palace had a couple of chances because De Gea had a good game, but a lot of them, just thinking back, I could be remembering it wrong. I thought a lot of them were from set pieces, from corners or free kicks being whipped in. I don't think Palace created an awful lot from open play, so I think you'd be harsh to give any United's back 4 less than a 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And just come to a couple of comments after the game. David De Gea talks about Weghorst. He did really well. He's a big lad, helps the team in both areas, and he helped the team. A great debut. He goes on to talk about Casemiro's booking. One of the best players cannot play one of the best games. I don't understand why we had to play today. And they didn't. That could have made a difference on Sunday. Is a big loss for us, and obviously that came in last minute. The rescheduling of this game. Obviously we got a late apology, and it could have been very different. You can't blame those sorts of things, but obviously if in an ideal world, if it wasn't maybe we would be seeing him playing at the weekend. Ten Hag talks about it as well. It was instinctive. He went for the ball, missed it, and it was a dangerous situation. He wanted to stop it, and that was his reaction. We spoke about this earlier. Shane's back with us now, so I'll just pull him back in again. And he goes on about sort of talking about Arsenal this weekend. Players have to make sure they are ready for that game, a top game and a fantastic one to be involved in. We're looking forward now and need to bring the convincement to win it. So hopefully our boys come out the traps and absolutely annihilate them this weekend, or at least give it a good game. So we'll wait and see. Moving on, Sean, to Luke Shaw. Your rating, please, buddy.
Yeah, I suppose I agree with Shane. I don't think any of them deserve less than a 7 in that kind of defensive role. Yeah, I'd give Sean 8. I'd give Wan-Bissaka an 8. I'll give Sean 8 as well. Really physical was what stood out to me about Shaw's performance tonight. He nearly stood on top of a couple of lads. Maybe he's getting used to that centre half role, and what's involved in that, getting close to lads and getting stuck in. But he was really physical, I thought, tonight, and that's why I go with that score.
Yeah, and if anything, maybe looked a little bit out of place tonight, Luke. Playing so well at centre back in these last few games, but no, he again, as everyone's agreed, and I don't think it was lost in the midfield and defence tonight. And I think that they can all hold their heads high relatively. So yeah, absolutely fine. Moving on to Casemiro then, Marcus. Tough one. Obviously the main talking point, but your rating for him, please, buddy.
I mean, under normal circumstances, I would have given him an 8 out of 10. But because of the miss at the end, which was very difficult, and the fact that he got the yellow, for me, it's brought down to 7. I hear what everybody's saying about the last-ditch tackle, and he probably needed to make it. But I don't know, man. Like, you're one yellow card away from being out of probably one of our biggest games of the season. I think he's got to stay on his feet there. So for me, it might be a little bit harsh, but I'm bringing him down to 7 because I just think that's the blemish. That's the blemish on what was otherwise a perfect performance for me. So 7 out of 10. Apart from that, he was brilliant.
I totally forgot about that chance at the end. It just sort of sprung upon him. He wasn't able
Yeah,
to
it was a
manoeuvre his
difficult
body.
one, to be fair. Yeah, it was between his like.
Yeah.
It was a difficult height. Very awkward.
Yeah, it was a strange one, and it would have been wonderful, and certainly would have redeemed himself. But it's unfortunate. It was one of those that it was going to be very difficult to put away. Moving on to we spoke about him earlier, Eriksen. He's been relatively quiet. Sometimes he makes those. He has sort of 2 games on the opposite spectrum, where he has 10% of things that you see that he does brilliantly, and it completely controls the game, or he does 90% of things that are visibly brilliant and again controls the game. And I feel like in the last couple of games he's certainly been less quiet, and I felt he was quite instrumental tonight, did a lot of good things. But what are your thoughts on Eriksen tonight, Shane, and what rating for him, please, buddy?
I thought he was decent. I thought the first half he was quite good. It was him who got the assist as well, I think, wasn't it? And it kind of came from him with the give and go from Rashford. He made a good run to create the opener. So I kind of want to say 7, but just going off the second half, I think he was very much lost in the middle of the field in the second half, because we weren't able to have any control. And I think a lot of that would have been fixed if he was able to get on the ball more and take the sting out of the game and just calm things down. So I'd probably give him a 6 out of 10. I don't know if that sounds harsh, but to me, 6 out of 10 is a decent game. It's above average. He done well enough. I don't think he was poor in any stretch.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And Jarvis here, Casemiro should have risked the family jewels and scored that goal. Would have been epic. On another day, maybe. Let's see if he gets set up like that again. Yeah, good points. Well made, Shane. Moving on to Bruno Fernandes then. And Sean, you can have that one, buddy.
Yeah, just before I go to Bruno, I suppose Shane was talking about Eriksen there. I just want to mention that he outsprinted Wilfried Zaha there on one stage as well. For a fella that was on his back last year. That's some going.
I must have missed that. one.
Oh, yeah,
that was brilliant.
Unreal. I thought it was one of the moments of the match where you just think he's never getting there, and he just did. He dug deep and got there. Fernandes, yeah, look, he absolutely buried his goal. You know what I mean? I know he had plenty of goal to shoot into from that distance, and he did the right thing. He hit it hard and left no doubt. I get that maybe he went missing a small bit towards the latter half of the game, but he was really good in the first half. I'm going to say 7 out of 10. Even though he got the goal, I'd probably go maybe a little bit higher. But just like that, if you're playing the bigger teams and you go missing like that for a period of the game, you know, we were punished tonight, but not for that particular reason. But I think against your bigger teams, that's just, I'd say Ten Hag would just skin him in the dressing room if they were to go missing like that for, even so much as 5 minutes of a match, let alone 10, 15, 20 minutes of a game. I think every game is important. This one was as important as the last game against City and the next one against Arsenal. So I think when we're looking at, I know the lads were talking about Casemiro's yellow card there as well. At the time, it's 1-0 United. Do you take that yellow card, take your suspension, get out of the game 1-0? I suppose, I wouldn't be too harsh on him for taking that, because, again, every game is important when you're trying to get where United are trying to get now at the moment. I think we all know where it is, but I think we're all reluctant to say it out loud as well,
I think that's a good points well made. And as we were saying earlier, Bruno, game with 2 halves really, obviously very, very good in the first half, took his goal well, as you said, and then the second half, like the whole team, did go missing. And you're absolutely right. He's a pivotal part. He's that risky player that we rely on a lot, but I think that the foundation and quality around him now is not allowing him to be that star man, but he still needs to do his job, if you see what I mean, and he did go missing a little bit, so you're absolutely spot on there, and I think that's fair. Go on, Shane. Did you want to say
no, I
something?
was just going to. This is probably my favourite version of Bruno at United. I know he's not putting up the numbers he has in recent years, but I think the way he's playing now just suits the team a lot better. I get he kind of plays within himself a bit, but I think it's to the benefit of the team overall. I think he's really, after stepping up to be, like, he is the captain at the club. I know Maguire is still the club captain, but Bruno is the leader in that dressing room, and I just think it's nice of him to play within himself for the betterment of the team, and the players around him he's making them look a lot better too. So, because I've been one that's been harsh on Bruno, I think, at times, because he can be frustrating, but I just like this version of him. I think it's my favourite version of him at United.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I don't think anyone, as I said before, is going to come into a club and score and assist as many goals as that as a midfield player ever again. I think that's going to be very, very difficult to do. But what he does do, which someone pointed out to me earlier today, is communication. Whenever there's a pan of Bruno Fernandes, you're always seeing him in someone's ear, telling them where to go, and I really like that about him. I think communication is important in any kind of job that you're doing, but it's really good to see, and I think he does that very, very well. And props to him there. So moving on to the front three then, and we'll probably include Garnacho in this as well. But Anthony, I'm going to come to first, and I'll give that to you, Marcus.
Yeah, I thought Anthony was really quiet today, really, really quiet, and I don't even know how to judge his performances anymore, because coming from Ajax, I kind of assumed he wasn't the finished article, so I was kind of anticipating these types of performances, but it's becoming really hard and frustrating to watch him sometimes, because you know what he's capable of and you can see the potential, but it's just not coming together. So for me today, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. I think just a very flat performance.
What I will say about him, I was seeing a lot of criticism being given to him tonight. First of all, I saw him tracking back very well. Secondly, I felt that his pace, he utilised his pace in great positions tonight and did that very well.
Yeah.
And there was a stat that popped up in the first half where he had the most successful forward final third passes, which I think was a bit of a shock to me at that point, but obviously he was trying to make something happen. I get where you're coming from, absolutely agree with you, but I felt that he was probably better than not you, but other people have given him on Twitter tonight, and I felt that he was unjustified.
Definitely, and I think the thing is about Twitter is the value of hard work is lost. The value of having the right character and the right mindset is lost, because those things aren't really quantifiable by stats, so one thing you can't criticize Anthony about is that he works hard, right? He's straight from the favelas, typical Brazilian lad who just works his ass off. So, you can't be mad at that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Shane, you wanted to come in there, buddy.
No, I agree. I thought Anthony didn't have a great game tonight, but I think my problem with him since he's come is I think he just needs to be more willing to mix it up a bit. I know it's not just him. Any left footer is so one-sided. Like they're less two-footed than most right players, you know. So I get anytime he gets the ball, he's always wanting to come back inside onto his left foot. That's fair. All he needs to do is just to be willing to go the outside once or twice. Because once you do that once or twice, that's in the defender's head. It doesn't matter if he goes down the outside and nothing comes off. He loses the ball, it's fine, you know. It's up in their end. It doesn't matter. But you just need to show that you're willing to go down the line, so that sticks with the defender, so the defender can't overcompensate to show, you know, to not show you in on your left. So it's just I think he's been good since he came to United. I think since the World Cup, his form has dipped a little bit. I think some fans are being harsh just from what I've been seeing on Twitter. But yeah, that's all that I kind of want from him more. Is just more variation in his game, just to keep the defender guessing. Because if you're not willing to mix it up, you're just too easy to play against.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think he does need to learn that, but that will come with age. That will come with obviously experience,
Yeah.
and he will get to that point. What I will say is a few players that come to mind. Ian Robin was always cutting in on the left hand side and didn't really get caught out. And to be honest with you, with Anthony, I don't see him getting caught out that often. So he's obviously doing something right. If he brings that variation, then that will make him a better player. Absolutely spot on. Moving on to Rashford, and I'll give you that, Sean.
Yeah, Rashford looked very ordinary tonight. I think that's the right word to use because he has been sensational, as we all are abundantly aware over the last, I suppose, definitely a few weeks, if not more. And I mean, when someone's in that kind of form, you know, obviously it doesn't last forever, but for, I suppose, maybe the select 1% of players that can keep that form just going over a long period of time. You know, I thought that, like I said, you know, from the start, Crystal Palace went in with that game plan to just keep him quiet. I guess if you keep the front players quiet, you know, goals can't be scored. If goals can't be scored, you give yourself a chance to get a result. You know, and they did just that. So I think it was a very ordinary performance. And to me, I suppose, look, maybe 5 out of 10, because I think a lot of the stuff, you know, is good game plan from Crystal Palace. I suppose coupled with maybe not the best performance he's had, but I'm just going to go right down the middle of the road. I'm going to sit on the fence like it's never been sat on before and go 5 out of 10 for Rashford.
There you go, a firm 5 by Sean there, and can't disagree with what you're saying there, buddy. Listen, he's been absolutely sensational this season. Everybody's going to get games like that, and it wasn't just him tonight. So we can let him off for one game, not scoring a goal, and hopefully he'll be firing this weekend. We'll have to wait and see. So moving on to the last two, I'm going to give you Wout Weghorst, Marcus.
Oh, this is an interesting one because I saw a few accounts that I quite respect saying that he played well. And I had to really question two things. One, my eyesight, and two, my ability to analyze a football game, because I just didn't see it. I think one thing he did really well is he was occupying space really well and linking up the play. But again, I just don't think he played well. And don't get me wrong, it's not his fault. We didn't create that many chances for him. And the team in general in the final third wasn't great. So I'm not pinning it all on him. I'm just saying, as a byproduct of that, he didn't play well as well, right? So I don't know. I might be being harsh, but I would also give him a 6 out of 10 because I think it was a very quiet debut. I think he worked hard. And I think for the goal, he actually made a very good dummy run. And I think
he pulled
2 or 3
two players out of position, in order for the space to be created for both Bruno and Eriksen. Brilliant.
Yeah,
play.
so his off the ball movement is something I was impressed with, right? Like he's just his awareness of knowing where to be. That's one thing I was really impressed with. But everything else, I don't know, it was kind of underwhelming, you know, just ordinary, nothing special. So for me, it's a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I do agree, and we were talking about this earlier. I think 6 is fair. I can understand totally why people would feel it is a bit of an underwhelming performance. But what I did see that also Martial does very, very well, and I felt that when Martial was taken off against City, that's when we were losing the game. We've got someone else now that can link that play. He held the ball up very well. And as I said earlier, look, he's there to score goals. He didn't do that tonight, so I can understand why it was underwhelming. And of course, everyone's going to be like, I want him to get a debut goal and this, that, and the other. But he did everything else right, didn't misplace anything. And as you say, dragged 2 players out for the goal. So I was pleased with that. So hopefully, obviously, that will continue and he can come in and go on, Sean.
I was just going to say, do you think Wakehurst needs the team around him to be playing well to get the best out of him? You know, I think just his style of play, like we know he's not the quickest. So really, do you need the players around you to support you when you're that kind of player? And even looking at tonight, I think if the overall team performance is a little bit better, we'd have probably got a better Weghorst tonight.
I think so.
It's my opinion anyway.
He's very much a team type of striker, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not sort of like a selfish, I'm going to create something for nothing. He has to bring people into play and be that link-up man. So I think you're absolutely right. And I think Marcus was probably going to go into that as well, that if you've got your team playing better around him, you'll see so much more from him, and it's not his fault tonight. So hopefully he continues, and we'll see a lot more out of him going forward. So finally, before we wrap up, loads of you been on tonight, and I appreciate that. Make sure you like and subscribing, and loads of you on Twitter as well. Make sure you come over to youtube.com/The Weekly Armchair. We can't see your comments, and we want to see those. So I'm going to give Garnacho to you, Shane. How do you feel that he played once he come on?
I thought he was okay. I thought he looked lively when he came on, but I don't actually know how long he was on the field, but I feel like he wasn't on long enough to really get into it. And I do think when he came on, we were under a little bit of pressure, so I just don't think he really had the platform to do much. But I don't think he was bad by any means. So I'd probably go 6 out of 10, because he wasn't bad, and I just don't think he was on the pitch long enough, or we had enough of the ball for him really to make a difference. So it was just he was just unfortunate how the game were going. Palace were in the ascendancy when he was on the field, so we just didn't get the platform. So 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Listen, boys, as I said, I'm going to have to wrap up early tonight. Getting a late one. I'm sure you've all got work in the morning as well, apart from you, Shane, with your poor broken foot. But I hope you get better soon, buddy. Great to have you all on.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much for joining in. And thanks, boys, for coming on as well. Obviously, I'd love to have you on again at some stage. Not what we wanted tonight, guys, unfortunately. But as I said, you're not going to win them all. It's disappointing. And I think we just need to take solace in this is how far we've come. And that's why it's so disappointing for us. But a massive, massive game this weekend. Of course, we'll be doing a preview probably on Friday night, and of course again on Sunday I'll be doing your reaction. You might see a couple of these lads on as well, but as I said, thanks for joining in, and until then, we'll see you next time.